Okay, so it looks like this time we've got ourselves a 3200 Rhine who is specifically worried about too much of a gap between him and his team when he goes aggressive and when he should be swapping between being aggressive back to being more passive. So we'll see if any of that is actually even remotely related to his problems. It could be. If it is, we'll certainly address it. Unfortunate. Two berries early. Okay. So let's slow down this life and take another look. Because I think you're going to find it has more to do with, well, your aggression question has more to do with health management. So this was probably a bubble meant for your fire strike that was just late. Unfortunately, it tells you that you're not going to have a bubble for the next bit. You're not going to get real bubble out of this. You're not going to be able to swing with this bubble because this was probably, again, meant for your fire strike. So what you really want to do next is get yourself to here and kind of swing into this corner. You want to do that because you need to allow your team to be able to get past this dangerous bridge here and sort of get themselves into this safer area up around here where they're not in danger of being booped, where they can play like this, etc. And you're enforcing this line sort of by standing here and swinging into it. It's not perfect. They can poke through here. Your team can poke through here too, etc. But it's way better than being on the bridge. What you did is you sort of went over here, knowing that you didn't have your bubble anymore, and knowing that bubble wasn't available because you knew Zarya used on it, and you sort of went and tried to go, no, we're going to take more space than this. Well, you're more of a poke team than you are a brawl team, as you can see here. Like, yes, you two are brawly, but they have those same brawl to match, and their bubble is going to likely get used better. And they're a little more brawly because they have this Genji. You're definitely set up as a poke team, though, with the setup that you have here. So you really want to enforce this space by swinging into it or shielding past while your team pokes through here, potentially gets up to high ground, pokes down, pokes like that, etc. At least until you have your sixth player back, because you know you lost McCree. So at the very least, you don't want to go, oh, let me take this 5v6, and you definitely don't want to go, let me take this 5v6 without bubble, and when my team is really still, just transitioned to like here and isn't really fully ready in their positions that they want to be, etc. So in terms of two separated from your team, sure, we can call it that, but what this really is you going in without your team being in the appropriate positions yet. You can be quite aggressive on Reinhardt. I'd just like you to be aggressive while you've got a BAP up here, a McCree shooting through this angle, a Widow who's transitioned up to here, etc. And then I'd like you to go, yeah, swing, 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 etc., etc. So you just need to go, I'm going to safely enforce my space while I wait for my McCree to get back. And if you get pushed, not the end of the world. It's still better to take the fight here because make the Rhine push you around, and then his back line is potentially still back here where they're not really able to contribute. All they've got is shooting through here until they run all the way up here, etc. I hope that makes sense. Right. Yeah, so you were up, swinging out in the open, past really the plane, before your team was up here. You see BAP is all the way up here where, he can shoot you a little, he can heal you a little, he can shoot through the doorway, but your team definitely wasn't with you when you were up there. And let's see if I can properly zoom out to show you that. Do you have a mouse? Mice are good. Okay. Okay, so you're up there swinging, and you didn't go super deep, which is to your credit, but even up here swinging, you're letting the entire enemy team look at you, whereas if you're here, the entire enemy team can't look at you, and, you know, what's his name here? Your Lucio, he doesn't really get good shots from here. If he was over here and your BAP was shooting through here and your Zarya was over here where she could help more, that would be fine. But you going, hey, I'm going to push in here, you're letting the entire enemy team see you and your team can only see their Reinhardt. Whereas if you're here, you make it so their Reinhardt comes and the situation is basically reversed. That would have been preferable, especially when you're down one and especially when you're poke set up. F12 for you. Maybe. Yeah, you're way behind on resources. You've had to use Lamp to cover for this positioning. You've been down on players the whole time. Yep. You're too deep. You're already too deep. And they know they can push you. Ugh. Okay. Now you're good. Your spawns are back in play. Push up to your planter. Now push up to the choke. Yeah, you can go for that fire strike. That's fine. And now you're up, so you can potentially fight this Rein in the open a bit more. That was good. Yeah, this is better. Don't go in here, though. They've swapped to the Tracer. They've gotten more melee. I mean, did any of them get bad spawn? Do you know that any of them got bad spawn? I don't love going in here like this, but I guess there's 3 of you now. Okay, fine. Yeah, so there was a bad spawn up there. That's fine then. You don't really want to be the one pushing the cart as Reinhardt. You are better off letting... It's not great for Lucio to do it, but really you're probably better off letting BAP do that. But, you know, whoever's going to do it is going to do it, because you do want to be creating a situation where you can be up there and you can sort of enforce space for your team. You can play a corner that they then have to walk through, walk into, you get to swing at them, etc. If you don't have enough team up there, yes, you'll back up and you may go back to cart, but you're like I don't know, you're not the absolute worst choice on your team to be pushing cart. That would be Widowmaker, for example, and McCree would also like to be up there with an angle, and Zarya definitely needs to be up there. So you're like the second best, maybe, choice on your team to go push cart. So it's not terrible if you're going for the 3 push. But generally you go for the 3 push when all or most of the team is dead, and then as they start to come back alive, as 5 of them are alive, 6 of them are alive, you want to make sure you're taking space, etc.
No one.
Because it's easier to enforce space that you already have ahead of the cart than it is to take space that they've contested, etc. As soon as you turn purple, you want to try and pull that shield up. I know it probably didn't matter in that situation, but you want to, since it was a Rein strike that took you out. You can't cross this bridge yet. They're gonna force a 5v6 on you. Yeah, they're gonna crush you. Fine. I mean, it was wrong, but hey, it worked. Yeah, I wanted you up here enforcing this corner. Yep, good bubble.
Let's keep it going.
You need to help your Zarya get out. Yeah. You had enough barrier to help your Zarya get out. Your Zarya shouldn't have stayed there that whole time, but you are her partner. You do need to go, okay, even though I don't want to be here, I need to be halfway up so that she can be 4 steps away from you being able to shield her and help her get the rest of the way out. You had 3/4 of your shield and health left.
This is not over.
Hi.
You can walk up for your fire strike and then go back to help triple card if you want. Okay, but now you don't want to peek again until Zarya's got bubble. Zarya doesn't have bubble yet. Okay. Okay, you're done. Just leave. You're literally just feeding them right now. They're up 2. They're going to win a poke fight. And even if they don't flat out win the poke fight and get more kills and staggers and such, you should expect them, if they're up 2, to get better ult farm off of you, to be more likely to get a pick that staggers you more, or to decide that they're going to commit on you and totally reset you and buy more time off the clock. Like, you want to get out here, rotate further right, get you and your team out of here. Yeah, you had no business pushing in like that. You just weren't aware of the situation, what the fight count was, etc. That's just game sense. Watching the kill feed, etc. Just want to show you that again. I mean, fire strike into the pillar, but we'll call that mechanics. You're a little screwed here by the fact that your Zarya just isn't giving you great bubbles. Like, that bubble wasn't to protect you fire striking. I mean, you were in the middle, in the open, etc. So she was just thinking, hey, you're going to take spam. But it really was too early on you. You could have encouraged it to be better by going, hey, I'm going to play a little more to a pillar, etc. Like, you're up here, you're trying to hold this open space, and you really would be a little bit better off if you went, hey, open space. You can't hold open space as Reinhardt. You can go, okay, I'm going to use this pillar, I'm going to use this pillar, or maybe I'm going to use this crate over here, and if they come rushing through, I'll push into them, etc. If you're just holding open space like this, you're just trying to force a poke war, and a poke war is no longer in your favor. They're the McCree plus Hanzo now, where you're the McCree plus Genji, but they were coming out staggered, etc., so we'll call it, hey, you should still have poke advantage. So it's not the worst thing it could be, but you still would prefer to be somewhere like you push up to here, and then you shield across for your team, and you've still got this, which is at least giving you some amount of cover. wasn't the end of the world. The bigger thing, though, is once you realized that your Zarya misused her bubble on you, didn't get value out of it, and you weren't going to be able to stand and swing, you needed to figure out, oh shit, I don't have my Zarya's bubble anymore because it got used early. What is my exit strategy going to be? How am I going to be able to keep myself alive? You go down pretty quick to Reinhardt swings here, and you're trading with the Reinhardt, but that's, you're in the middle of the open. You have nowhere to go if that trade starts going poorly. And beyond that, when it does start going poorly, it's not just Rhine swings that kill you, and you did want to go ahead and give your team a chance to catch you up. Give your BAP a chance to catch up on you by shielding here. Let's go back and show you. I mean, you're dead, but I guess we can go back a second and see that. Okay, so you're trading swings. Yeah, and during that second swing you took there, you're just getting decimated by the McCree to the left and, taking the damage from who's Teru there, from the Sigma, etc. So, you needed to shield once you went below half health. And it was a small window, but if you want to get better, that's the sort of thing where you start recognizing, whoa, I'm getting chunked from my first swing. I can't make a second swing. I'm going to shield. Even though the Reinhardt's still going to swing at me, at least there's a chance for my healers to catch up since they can out-heal just Rein swings. Why are you here? Why are you here? They knew you were there. If you were going to go for a fire strike there, it would have been better to try and get a cute one through the doorway or something, not down mid, which is the place that they will be most likely looking, because you're effectively going, I'm going to throw one fire strike, and 6 of you get to shoot at me during that time. That's a bad trade for ult charge. And again, you're early in the middle here. Your team isn't really here and ready for you to push. Even if you're just pushing up to this choke, to take this choke, and now you're going to tuck left or tuck right, you're taking space that your team isn't ready to take yet. And to illustrate what I mean, you've got Lucio and Zarya here. BAP is not at an angle. Like, BAP can sort of help you here, and you've got Genji, excuse me. BAP can sort of help you, but BAP isn't ready to take this space. He isn't ready to position better because you take space to this next choke here. And you've got someone who, McCree's only been out of spawn for 3 seconds. He's still a good 6+ seconds away. So that's going to be the biggest thing for you, tracking better where your team is. Recognizing that, okay, my team is a poke comp, so there's things you can do with that. But the biggest thing for you so far is going to be tracking where your team is and going and taking your space when your team can take advantage of you taking that space. When you've actually got 6 people. You need to be going through the dangerous spots and making the plays and pushing, etc., when you've actually got 6 people that can back you up, or more people that can back you up than can back the opponents up. Your shatter play has been good, both directions, in terms of denying his and getting good value out of yours, but you need to go, hey, I need to do stuff when we have resource advantage. That means more people, and that means your Zarya's bubble hasn't been wasted. And if you don't have more people and your Zarya's bubble has been wasted, you need to go, okay, where's the cover that I can use and just sort of protect myself with that cover. And your team isn't expecting to use your shield to protect them when they're just standing in the open. They're expecting to use your shield to protect them as you're taking space, as you're advancing. So that's what you want it for. Yeah, so tucking there when you got in trouble, that was good. That's more actually what I want to see, though you were a little late to do it, and there was the Sigma ult that contributed to that, so that's fine. This is better. You're not taking a poke war, you're not breaking cover until you actually have your team. This is better. Can you force a shatter win here? You've been good at them before. I mean, we're getting pretty advanced, but you did have a shatter there. He jumped and you swung at him, and if he jumps and you swing at him, you actually know that you swung specifically from the right when he was a little to the left of you, which meant you got to force a shatter on him or the team behind him. Those are pretty good, though you only generally get away with those one time per match.
Score 0. Initiating match.
Okay, let's see how this goes in the other direction.
Ready for battle. 2, 1. Attackers incoming. Stop the payload.
Can't force this corner. Would you lose him? I just want to see what happened. Was he just standing poorly?
1. Attackers incoming. Stop the payload.
Oh, okay. Sorry, bubble timings. Not your fault. You just have to recognize that you don't have it and change your play around that. Yeah, okay. That's not really on you. You can't really be dropping shield. You also can't really be retreating here. So you did want to, make the call for your team to go push back the Widow Mercy back there, and you can't really help them. You unfortunately have to stay here. That's not completely true. I mean, what you can do is you can effectively stand where you are now and shield and kind of scoot one step to the left, and then let your McCree Zarya drive back the Widow Mercy, pressure them from behind you, or go push them, and then you're only 2 steps from being able to go back and enforce your corner, and these guys, unless they run up to where your Zarya is, can't really get you. So that's position-wise how you wanted to play that. Okay. Little cute fire strike. Yep. Back up, back up. Yeah. Yeah, you just needed to take the step back, because even if you hadn't been hit by the charge, you were going to get hit by damage, and you couldn't be there yet. You were getting pushed from 2 angles, and you needed to play from that positioning that we were talking about, so that you could potentially give your team a chance to block for Widow, so you have your shield going to block from that direction, and you have your hammer to block from the team advancing through the other direction. Okay. I mean, suicide charge, but whatever.
Imagination is the essence of this.
We get to go monkey now.
Group up with me. Form up. Group up with me.
They've got the Reaper, so are you going to keep this Widow tied up without taking too much damage yourself? You can't push that. Not even close. Okay. You should have continued circling further to the right there based on where your cooldowns were, but that's minor. Yeah, so far, you're taking engages head on with Winston, and that's not really what you do. Winston isn't Reinhardt, so I think you were mostly looking for Reinhardt review here, so I won't spend as much time on this, but you dropped from here when the enemy was back here, and you're dropping right in front of their face, and they're like, oh, yep, we see you, we're aware of you, etc. Plus, you were 2 seconds out on a cooldown. So if you'd circled around to there, you'd have had your cooldown, and you'd have dropped from the side, which is, okay, now you're splitting their attention a bit more, which is how Winston works. Same thing here, once Cart was under this, and your team was fighting here, etc. You're not Reinhardt, you're not fighting in front of your team anymore. You use your jump pack to go up to here, and then you can zap down and you can drop down, and that's fine. Even though you don't have jump pack yet, you are dropping behind them, which splits their attention, which protects you and your team a bit. And then you drop your bubble back here too, splits the team up a bit more. And oh hey, because you went up here first, it ticked a second or two off your jump pack, and you can get out sooner, which you'd actually get out up here. But you get the idea. You were kind of face tanking a bit on Winston so far, which is not what we do.
Onward and upward.
Please go on stairs. Please jump up to stairs. Please jump up to stairs. Go up! No, you don't. This isn't how you use a Winston shield. They are much more scared of you if you jump up to the balcony up there, and then they have to walk through without being able to see you, your zappy zap. That protects your McCree better, I'm serious. You can't be here, go up top! Yeah, you don't play with Reinhardt as Winston. You may have been thinking, oh, he has Shatter, so I have to be playing with him because I have to be ready to bubble his Shatter. It's not your job, and I'm serious. It's your team's job to spread out and take high ground in such a way that Earth Shatter is much less of a threat to them when you're on Winston instead of Reinhardt.
Join, group up here.
Shield. Yeah.
My ultimate is charging. I'll feel sad in the morning.
Throw your okay, there you go. Throw your strike. Now you're working with an Orisa. You. Okay, and is that the end? Yeah. Okay, so the biggest thing for you is going to be tracking your team's, tracking where your team is, if your team is alive, what the numbers game is in terms of how many people you have alive versus they have alive, but also how many people you have able to shoot down a sight line if you break a plane and go, oh, I'm going to push into this. Pushing into stuff, yeah, you do that as Reinhardt, but you want to be doing that at times when your team can fully support you, not at times where if you break it, now only 2 of your team members are in play and 3 of them were set up on a to support a different plane, and they're going to have to spend 3 seconds readjusting, because those 3 seconds are 3 seconds of a 6v3 instead of a 6v6. And until they adjust, you play those corners like we talked about a little bit more there. Your shatters were good. We talked about that. We talked about timing there. Your Winston play, you're playing him like Reinhardt right now. Don't do that. It's much more about, hey, go get the high ground, turn enemies around. You're not looking to go, oh, I'm in front and I'm zapping their Reinhardt. You're instead going, oh, I'm going up behind you. I'm going up to the side of you. I'm going to split your front and your back line so that your supports can't help your tanks, and then my team can handle the tank, etc. That's much more how you're going to play Winston there. And then the other thing is, when I was saying track your resources, your Zarya bubbles, you weren't getting great bubbles, but you do need to recognize that, and you need to recognize, if I'm down resources, I do need to play more passively, since your question was about when to switch between passive and active. So pay more attention to your Zarya bubbles. If you get a bad Zarya bubble, you go, okay, now I know that for the next amount of time I'm not going to get a Zarya bubble, and you need to play more passive, we'll say, because of that. Whereas when Zarya does or should have a Zarya bubble available for you, and you know where she is, that's great, and you can afford to break planes more aggressively, take fights a little more out in the open, though you don't stay in the open, etc. So that's what I've got for you. If you want another review in the future, just let me know. You can reach me Discord, Reddit, Twitter, you know the drill, and we can work out what that's going to cost. Thanks, guys. Temporal out.